Hi everyone! So I wanted to do my day 2, and day 2 is about the physical abuse that I endured as a child. It's important. It's an important part of my childhood because it created this sort of adaptability, I guess, to certain situations, and it helped me to, it was kind of like a habitual habit to always be assertive, and to always kind of know all the details, and I'm trying to think what else, what other benefits to being abused. In my situation, my father was demanding. He had OCD and he was a perfectionist, so any little piece of paper, like a penny, just a random penny on the floor, it was out of place, and he would get angry and he would lecture us, and there came a point where he would escalate himself into this fit of anger, and he would take action on it. He would yank us around and kind of show us, like, do you see this here on the floor that you walked over? And he would end up like spanking us or just hurting us in some way because it wasn't up to his standards. So, and he had high expectation for the way that he lived in his house. So everything had to be done to his standards: cleaning, food, building on a room. I remember we helped him build on a room, and so I can say I helped my dad build on a room, but it was hard. It was tough because his demeanor, his ego, his pride, and it's hard to get along with someone like that, and just to try and de-escalate situations and adapt to the situation. It's kind of hard to live in as a child, to do your best and it not ever be enough. So, the mental portion of the abuse I want to talk about another day, but the physical, so I'm trailing off here, so I apologize. The physical abuse, when we didn't meet his standards, when we failed at seeing anything out of place, he would get angry, and he would anger himself to the point where he would act out and he would hurt one of us kids. And the other way was if any of us spoke back to him or just said anything where it was sort of against him, like if we were telling the truth about something, he would see that as a lie and he would hurt us. So it's always difficult to try and fix the situation because we were always wrong. Let's see. So, as a child, one of the things that we do remember, my brothers and I, was the paddle. And on this particular paddle were tally marks and names of each child. And the child with the most was my brother, John, my twin brother. And then the second was Danny. And I believe the third was me. Not quite sure. But John was a rambunctious kid. and Danny was as well. But John, there's just something about boys, and I can say this because I have a son, so I know that physical discipline doesn't work, because boys, they are stubborn and they will get used to pain, and they will get used to the criticizing. I don't know, they'll get used to the lecturing, and they'll tune you out, and so they kind of just get, it doesn't work. There has to be an alternate way to be able to handle this situation. And the way that my father did it was just all wrong. His type of discipline was a fear-based discipline, and he believed that this was the only way to raise children, and it was the only way that was effective. And he was wrong. It created aggression and anger in us when we had to stand up for ourselves or stand up for each other, because we had often done that. And that didn't really happen until our teenage years. But see, even John and Danny was he's my older brother. So John and Danny, they were rambunctious and stubborn, and the pain wasn't a big deal anymore. They were desensitized, and that's why my dad found ways to bring that pain, that new pain, the deeper pain. So he would up the discipline to something more extreme, something harsher. Oh my gosh, I can't talk right now. There were a few times where my dad used a squat belt, that belt that keeps your straight back, the back straight. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I ran 10 miles today, so please forgive me. I'm so tired. And I did laps on the pool, so so my father used this belt to spank us kids. It's like this thick, and it's super big, and he did use that a few times. And he also used like switches, and he used the most extreme that I can remember after talking with my brothers and trying to remember all of these horrible memories. The most extreme was the workout bench, where you strap your ankles and you're upside down hanging, and this is the bench where you do sit-ups using your body weight. And he used to strap them in and then spank them. I don't know if it was both of my brothers or just one of them. I just know I don't think I was ever, strapped in that way. But it had gotten that far. And one of the things is, I do remember the physical portion where my dad pushed my mother to enter in on the fear-based discipline. And I know he had done that several times with her, and she did not want to. She did not like it, and she didn't want to hurt her children, and he would become angry with her, and he was abusive to her as well. So she had to submit to him. And this one time was I was probably about 6 or 7. It was before they divorced, and he told her to pull me up off the ground using my hair. So she gripped my hair and lifted me off the ground, and then he said for my mom to put me back down. But I was crying the whole time, and I think that was probably the most extreme where he had my mom do that to me. So I can't remember why. So, but I just know that almost every situation that we were disciplined in, it was always 100 times worse from my father's perspective. And it wasn't, just when you're a child and you're learning about the world, and you're learning that you have to lie, or just anything, like in general, like with my father, as children we were scared. So because we were scared of our father and what he was capable of, we tried to get out of situations as children, learning, adapting to the situation. We tried to lie, and that is another reason why we were abused or continued to be abused for. So there wasn't anything that we could do except submit and do our best. And my parents ended up divorcing when I was 8, so that kind of helped the situation. But we were moving back we were going from house to house every other weekend, and it was a difficult life during that time. We were well aware of what was going on around us, and the sort of broken home is difficult to be in. So, but I also want to say that fear-based discipline, like the extreme discipline, does not work. It creates so many problems in a child, and this leads into adulthood. It took many years for me to come out of this, and it was only because of Christ and his healing. But I remember that just from high school all the way up until my adult life, up until about 3 years ago, I'd always played the victim, and that was my role, to always play the victim. And I was always intimidated and scared of strong-willed people, like a female or a male, anyone that was kind of bossy. And if you were like a big male, kind of resembled my father, I was intimidated, I was scared. And it's just something that I had developed, and it's not good. It's not good. And because of what happened with my father, I didn't have a voice. And because nothing was ever good enough when I spoke, and his OCD kind of behavior, because it was too high of a expectation for us to live up to, nothing was ever good enough. So that led to no self-worth, low self-esteem, no confidence, no voice. So this sort of fear-based discipline does not work. It does not bring up a healthy child, and it takes a lot of work later on for this child, when they become an adult, to undo the damage that was created. So I just want to say that it's so important that just know right from wrong, because my dad, he never had that conviction where he thought he was doing anything wrong. He thought it was all right. All of it, everything he had done, he thought he was right. And then it was okay for him to do. So it's not. But that was because his ego, his pride, and I believe he has the type 2 personality disorder, whatever one it is. I think it might be type 2, maybe type 1, I'm not sure. But they think they're God. They think they're God. The world revolves around them. They think they're God, and that is really hard to live up to a human thinking that they are God and that they rule over you. So just that you feel inferior to someone all the time. So even when I was in my teenage years, it was really hard to live up to him. But because I was his only daughter, I used that to my advantage to adapt to the situation. I spent a lot of time with him, and I spent meaningful time with him to show that I still loved him, but I also wanted to make sure that the situation was cool and calm for all of us. So there were, I don't know, I think, let's see, sophomore, junior, it was sophomore and junior year mostly that I took the brunt of everything, and I allowed my dad to vent to me about any drama, any pain, anything that he was angry at. He vented to me, and then I would just, I would calm him down, and then, we'd watch like a movie or something, because he's a big movie buff. So we watch a movie, and we'd spend hours together just watching some of his favorite movies while he calmed down. We would talk about the movie, and so I'd get him back into a different world, and that would help him. But these are the things that I had done to help him, to pull him out of this sort of anger. During that time, I didn't know God. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just trying to adapt to the situation and make it easier for all of us, especially for my brothers. Because my brothers, they had oftentimes just kind of hid away because my dad, it's just his personality. It's too difficult to be around. So, but I mean, he's a good man. I know he's different now. He's changed a lot. But the pain, it's still deep in each child because of what happened. Except for me, I was able to get healing, and I just wish this upon all my brothers, to be able to get some sort of healing and to overcome it, because the fear-based discipline also created this stuttering, stammering that I had growing up, because I was just so fearful, and I was intimidated, and I felt rushed all the time, where I couldn't think any thought. I would overthink, and this was hard because I would always overthink, trying to figure out what is the right thing to say, because I had to think before, like, if I said this, is he going to hurt me? If I said this, is he going to mentally tear me apart? Like, what is going to happen? So I always had to overthink everything and kind of like play this out in my mind. So I always had a lot going on in my mind, and it wasn't until a few months back where I realized kind of all of this stuff by going to this transformational workshop with Kyle Cease, where my thinking process, I totally learned about it, and now I'm more aware. I'm able to understand how my childhood thinking, how my childhood traumas affected my adult life and my thinking, because that's everything to do with who I am, my thinking. So I kind of brought that into my thinking process, and because I'm more aware of it, I can overcome it, and I can cool down my thoughts, calm them down, and think about what I want to say, or just not, just spit them out. And one of the things was the thought. See, I can't talk about this because this is for another day. It's going to be towards the mental abuse vulnerability day, so I'm not going to talk about that. So I'm sorry I have to cut off there, but going on 18 minutes, that's really long already. So I want to say I'm sorry. I'm really tired today. It's only like 9:20 at night, but I was falling asleep in the car, and it's because the miles. I'm trying to get back onto my running routine, and I had to recondition my body. So the first few weeks are going to be a little tiring for me. So, but yeah, I just wanted to be able to do this video because I don't want to miss a day. So here I am. I think that's it. So I hope I wasn't too boring, and I hope you understand what I was saying, all my mistakes and errors and blah blah blah. So alright, love you guys, and bye.